Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Spurs Up Show, best Gamecocks podcast on the internet. Today is Monday, September the 13th, 2021. Today's show, a win is a win is a win. And, folks, the Gamecocks found a way to get it done thanks to the late-game heroics of kicker Parker White as South Carolina gets a much-needed 20-17 win over the East Carolina Pirates to move to 2-0 early in this 2021 football season. Guys, I'll break down the game in its entirety. We'll talk about just what went right, what went wrong, everything in between. Also, guys, my biggest takeaway from Saturday, we'll hand out some TSUS game balls, talk slap dick of the weekend, and also I'll hand out my weekly Cock of the Walk award. As again, the Gamecocks are now 2-0 as we chat on this Victory Monday. Also, guys, news and notes to get into, your listener questions and voicemails, and we have a fantastic conversation, guys. Friend of mine, friend of the show, Brad Crawford of 247Sports joins me to talk about. He was actually in the stadium Saturday watching the Gamecocks take on East Carolina. We talk about that game, Shane Beamer, the outlook of the rest of the 2021 football season, and much more. Again, folks, we got a packed show here on a Monday, and it's all brought to you by our friends over at Upstate Movers Group. Guys, Upstate Movers Group, superior moving service. They bring care and attention that companies can't offer because they're just too busy maintaining trucks and profiting off of them instead of focusing on service. Guys, service is what separates Upstate Movers Group from the competition. They're not a trucking company. They're a moving services company, and they're also employee-owned co-op. Their movers are paid twice the industry average, and everyone on the crew is invested in your success. They have dedicated professional crew members, and they also offer black glove service. They offer end-to-end packing services, custom crating and packaging special items, and cleaning services as well. They're founded by Greenville natives and University of South Carolina alumni, guys, so a Gamecock-owned small business. They also offer 20 years of project management moving experience, and they can offer logistics and solutions that traditional moving companies simply do not have the skills for. Guys, whether in the upstate or across the state of South Carolina, if you have any moving needs in 2021, be sure to check out our friends over at Upstate Movers Group. You can find them on social media at Upstate Movers Group. Or, of course, if you have any other questions, go to their website, upstatemoversgroup.com. That's upstatemoversgroup.com. Be sure to check them out and tell them Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent you. Let's get it. Boys and girls, winning is fun. It is a great day to have a great day. It was a great weekend to have a great weekend, and it was a terrible weekend to be an East Carolina Pirate. Man, oh man, does it feel good to be talking to you as the Gamecocks are 2-0. Raise your hand, hit the like button if your team is still undefeated in this college football season. Folks, hope you're doing well. Happy Monday. I'm your host, Chris Phillips, and Spurs Up Show. As always, appreciate you guys tuning in. We got a packed show, guys. I'm getting used to these Victory Monday shows, by the way. I could get used to this. I could get used to cheering for a team that is winning week after week after week and that is undefeated. How good does it feel, folks? Again, thank you all so much for tuning in. Got a packed show today, obviously talking about everything that happened over the weekend as the Gamecocks now sit 2-0, by the way, which means 1/3 of the way there to bowl eligibility in Shane Beamer's first season. Guys, what a weekend. Incredible stuff beyond words. Are you having fun yet is my question to all of you. But again, guys, like I said, the Gamecocks go into Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium, call it whatever adjective you want. It was ugly. It was embarrassing at times. There were some flashes of some great things. It was wacky. But at the end of the day, all that matters is this, guys. The Gamecocks got the W and remain undefeated early in this football season. Man, oh man, does it feel so good, guys. Again, we got all that and much more, guys. Before we really get going, I want to start first and say thank you. Thank you to everyone that came out to Carolina Ale House in downtown Greenville, South Carolina over the weekend and made it a massive, massive success. Guys, it even went beyond my expectations, honestly, for a noon game. And, our first ever watch party with Carolina Ale House, you just don't know what the turnout's going to be like. Obviously, being in the upstate and stuff like that, whatever you guys probably saw in my videos and everything, I was covering up all the ugly ass orange and the Clemson Paul and all that with our flags and with our merch and all that good stuff. And I can tell you this, the Carolina Ale House folks, the management that was there, they were so impressed and told me, Chris, there's no way we would have had this many Gamecock fans show up and show out and be loud, by the way. Our section was so loud. They said there's no way, Chris, we would have had this many people show up and show out and cheer on the Gamecocks and wear their garnet and black and the upstate and pride set, guys. So again, I want to say thank you all so much, man. Everybody in Greenville, everyone I got to meet, shake their hand, conversate with. It was an absolute blast. I appreciate every single one of you. And again, we had a really, really, really good time. If you could not be there in person in Greenville, North Carolina, I'm telling you, being at Carolina Ale House in Greenville, South Carolina was the place to be. So again, folks, thank you all so much. Like I said, the Carolina Ale House folks were extremely impressed and extremely ecstatic with the way things turned out. So again, I got a good feeling we might be heading back up there at some point this season. I know I'd be game for it. Like I said, guys, the hospitality in Greenville was incredible, and all the people that I met, and just it was an awesome weekend. And obviously, of course, you had the fact that we won the football game. That certainly helps. But again, the turnout for a noon kickoff in the upstate, incredible. Cannot say thank you enough, guys. Again, sincerely thank you for making our first ever watch party with Carolina Ale House a massive, massive success. Also, on that note, guys, speaking of watch parties, of course, it is Georgia week. To hell with Georgia. And of course, later in the week, we'll talk about that game more in depth. Gamecocks going on the road to Athens. But we are throwing another watch party, this time locally, Columbia, South Carolina, at the Harbison location, the Carolina Ale House in Harbison, guys. Very excited again to throw a watch party on our home turf, if you will, again, in Columbia, but we will be at the Harbison location. Again, posted all the details for that on Sunday on our social medias, and we'll continue to promote that and all that good stuff. But again, would love to see a ton of Gamecocks come out. Doors open, of course, at 11, kickoffs at 7. I'll probably get there around, I would say, no later than 5 to 5:30, just to sort of just to get there, eat dinner, set up, be there, of course, all that good stuff. Also, guys, I will have koozies on me, and I will have stickers at the watch party this Saturday in Harbison. Again, really looking forward to it. Again, for those that did not know and were confused for this past weekend, as of right now, no pregame or postgame or in-game live show or anything like that. Again, I went back and forth on that, and I just thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I really want to be present moment and be there with the people that, actually choose to come out to the event and want to conversate and talk Gamecocks and all that good stuff. And again, it was a pleasure to actually be able to sit down and be present moment and meet you guys and talk to you. And again, so I think we're going to continue to do that, guys. Like I said, again, we get to game day. I mean, I've broken this thing down and talked about the game and went into detail as far as you can go. And I feel like, as much as I love some of the pregame stuff, especially, it gets a little bit repetitive. Now, at some point this season, we might do a postgame show, like a 15 to 20-minute kind of a postgame type of rant or celebration, if you will. But for right now, again, the watch parties are going to be just that. They're going to be a watch party. So again, guys, you want a sticker, you want a koozie, you want to come hang out with yours truly and cheer on the Gamecocks against Georgia, head on out to the Harbison location, Carolina Ale House. Going to be a really, really, really good time. Guys, also want to say thank you and celebrate hitting another major milestone with you all. We officially on Sunday afternoon hit 20,000 followers and surpassed that 20,000 follower mark on Instagram. So again, folks, thank you so much, man. It's just crazy, when you keep perspective and you look back. I remember posting in 2017 when the Instagram had like 250 followers, 300 followers, and to think that it's at 20,000, it's just insane. It's incredible. Again, it's all a testament to you guys, everything you do, all your love, support. You guys continue to show up and continue to rock with us with the content. And again, guys, the Spurs Up Show is not what it is, and it's not what it is becoming without you all. So again, thank you all so much, folks. I truly do appreciate it. Also, guys, last thing, and then we'll get into the game. To celebrate the Gamecocks win. And if you guys did not know this, we're going to do this after every single win, by the way. So if you've been kind of holding off and waiting to buy your TSUS merch, or maybe you want to get a Beamer Ball hat or a shirt or whatever we have in our store, 20% off. When the Gamecocks win, you win 20% off of our merch through the end of today using the promo code TSUS. And again, guys, like I said, every time South Carolina wins a football game, we will do that to celebrate 20% off of merch with that promo code TSUS. So again, head over to tsus.store, use the promo code TSUS for 20% off your entire order. And let's celebrate the Gamecocks getting a big win over East Carolina. Again, folks, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into that. Gamecocks getting a 20-17 win at Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium. Woo, wow. Let me start here, by the way. I am not a I told you so kind of guy, right? Especially when it comes to picks and it comes to predictions, because, guys, I make so many predictions and so many picks and I give so many opinions. You're going to be wrong. That's just going to happen, right? When you make as many predictions and picks as we do, you're going to miss some. It is inevitable. But I tried to tell you guys all week last week that this was going to be a tough football game, a competitive football game, a back and forth football game. And you would seriously think, I thought I was taking loony pills. I mean, some of you guys made me feel like I was absolutely crazy for even picking the Gamecocks to win by 4 points. The amount of people who were convinced and told me, Chris, there's no way we're going to win by 21 plus points. I mean, there's just absolutely no way, man. There's no way. And I tried to tell you, and I had some fun with some of you on social media, by the way. Again, I'm not an I told you so guy, but I just had this feeling, hey, South Carolina's not a perfect football team. Just because you beat EIU 46-0, that doesn't mean you are a perfect football team. There's still holes. There's still deficiencies. There's still issues. And I felt like with the Vegas line, you could sort of see that coming. Hey, ECU is going to give you their best shot. They're at home. They're going to try to punch you in the mouth early, which they did. But South Carolina would be able to overcome, fight adversity, and come out victorious in a game they absolutely had to have for their bowl chances this season. Now, I could sit here, guys, probably for the next 45 minutes, an hour or so, and be very, very critical and critique and just hammer into your brain all the things that went wrong, and we could dwell on that. And, I mean, certainly we can talk about it, no question, right? I think that's one of the reasons, that's one of the reasons why you guys tune into the show, because nobody else is going to call it like we call it. Nobody else is going to be honest with you about your football team and let you know how it is. But for all the criticisms and all the critiquing and all the issues and all the problems that this football team inevitably does have, and at some point we are going to see once the Gamecocks start facing better competition. Oh, by the way, this weekend in Athens against the Georgia Bulldogs. Those things are a reality, and they're going to be a reality. And whether you like it or not, they're going to show up at some point. But I really want to use today's show, guys, to celebrate. I mean, what a job. Kudos. Can we just give kudos to the entire Gamecocks football team? Let's start defensively, by the way, because I know we love to talk offense. We just, people just talk offense. But this South Carolina defense, I mean, holy smokes, guys, because I don't know about you all, but there were times on Saturday where I thought, this one's a lost cause. South Carolina just does not have it today. Everything that could go wrong is going wrong. There's no reason you should win the football game. You probably don't deserve to win the football game. And the South Carolina defense, Clayton White's squad, said, no, sir. No, sir. We are going to cheat death today, and it will be because of us. First off, of course, guys, I mean, you're dead in the water. 14-0, about to be halftime. I'm thinking to myself, dude, I don't even know if we can score 14 points at this point. And inexplicably, by the way, because I don't know what ECU was doing before the half. Like, I understand trying to steal points before halftime, but if you're East Carolina, you're up 14-0 against South Carolina in a game that you're probably not supposed to win. just sit on it and go to half. What do you really have to gain calling anything? Well, thank goodness they did, because Damani Staley picks the football off and goes back for a touchdown, which, again, I will tell you this, guys. South kind of goes 6-6, or God forbid 7-5, or God forbid better than that. We will look back at that Damani Staley play. We'll look back at that play as the play that changed the entire season. Because, guys, again, this is a game. I think we can all agree now, looking back, this is a game that if you would have lost, I really feel would have wrecked your season in regards to getting to bowl eligibility. I'm not saying you couldn't have done some nice things and won some nice games and maybe even pulled a big upset. But as far as getting to 6 wins and getting to bowl eligibility, you had to have this football game. We will look back at the end of the season, if that is indeed the case and you get to 6 or more wins, we will look back at that Damani Staley play and say, wow, that was the game changer in that football game. And in turn, that changed the outlook of the 2021 football season. But you take a look at these statistics, guys. I mean, let's put some respect on Clayton White's defense. And it starts with me. It starts with me, by the way. We knew the defensive line was good, okay? We knew it was a bunch of freaks up there, athletes. We knew that. But I've had questions all preseason about the secondary, the linebackers, basically everything that does not have to do with the defensive front. And I honestly thought this was a game, guys, where you would start to get exposed a little bit in that secondary. You know, ECU, they do have some very capable athletes on the outside. They've got some good wide receivers. You guys saw Keaton Mitchell. You saw Rajay Harris. They've got some good running backs. And Holt Nailors, while he's far from perfect, is a guy that can give you problems. But Clayton White's unit, 263 total yards you held the Pirates to. Just 111 yards rushing. 2.9 yards per carry. And guys, arguably the most impressive statistic, and I saw this statistic on social media, the Gamecocks held East Carolina to 2 of 16 on third down. And South Carolina, in their last 2 football games, has only allowed 2 third down conversions. I mean, that's I don't care who you're playing. That is insane. That is insane. Now, with that being said, I look forward to seeing this Gamecocks defense against some better competition. But like I said, let's please not take anything away from what this defense did on Saturday. Guys, beginning to emerge as stars. A guy like Cam Smith, which I love Cam. I want to see him mature a little bit and get rid of these silly knucklehead type plays and these knucklehead penalties and some of the things he was doing. But you can see the talent there. There's a reason we talked about Cam Smith as being your number 1 defensive back and being the guy for you. How about Darius Rush? Shout out to Darius Rush, a guy that, you know, nobody really outside of, you know, people that were outside the program, nobody's had expectations for. We're talking about a guy that has changed positions and was buried on the depth chart at one point in that secondary. And just even early in this football season, guys, just how about the fact that this South Carolina defense looks worlds different than it did a year ago? Again, you had 5 sacks on the day Saturday, which, again, you expected. We thought the Gamecocks defensive front was going to feast. But I don't think it's too bold of a statement to say that defense last year had far more talent, NFL talent, than this defense does right now, especially in the back half. I don't think I'm making a bold statement there. I think that's very true. But what I'm seeing from Clayton White's guys on the defensive side early in this season, guys that are flying around, that are having fun, that are playing free, they're not thinking. Our guys, I don't feel like, are overthinking and playing half a step slow because of that. They're just flying all over the place. They're flying around the ball. They're playing with reckless abandonment. And you absolutely love to see it. I mean, you love to see it. Now, again, how will this defense hold up once you start facing better competition? You'll start to find out this weekend. You'll find out against Kentucky, who, by the way, guys, I hate to say it, looked really, really good on Saturday night. You'll find out more as we navigate through this 2021 football season. But at least, if nothing else, early in this season, you can see the change. I mean, Clayton White, again, has done a phenomenal job. I talked about that a lot in the preseason, too, about he was going to have to make a decision on how much do you blitz and, you know, how much pressure can you put on your secondary to hold up and make plays, and because you felt like they were the deficiency. And, again, they may still very well be. once the Gamecocks start playing better competition. But at least, if nothing else to this point, give that unit kudos, because that unit's the reason you won the football game. I mean, there's just no other way to put it. Your defense was suffocating in the second half, especially. Your defense is why you won that football game. Very, very solid against the run, and Holton Ahlers was running for his life all day long. Guys, we told you last week, too. We told you last week that if you were able to get after Holton Ahlers, keep him in the pocket. I know he beat you with the run game a little bit here and there for sure, which is going to happen when you face a good player. It's just, they're going to get you sometimes. You just got to make sure you get them more than they get you. And the Gamecocks certainly did that. But if you got pressure on him, kept him in the pocket, he would make some very questionable decisions, make some mistakes. And again, he did, and you were able to capitalize. I love what I'm seeing thus far from the Gamecocks defense. I mean, I'll tell you what, they've really impressed me. I was not extremely high on South Carolina defensively, and I told you guys in the preseason, I thought the Gamecocks would be winning games with offense. I thought they'd be winning games with offense. But instead, thus far, and I know week one doesn't, you can't, did you win it with offense, defense? You won it with everything. But at least early on in this season, it feels like South Carolina's going to lean on its defense until you get things figured out at the quarterback position and some other things with the wide receivers and kind of figure yourself out offensively, and especially your offensive line as well, which we will get into in just a second. But right now, you are leaning on your defense. You leaned on your defense Saturday, which is not something that I expected to be saying. Even at this point, I did not expect to be saying that. So you got to give the kudos where kudos is due, man. It's certainly due to Clayton White. I mean, he's thus far, you can really see it. You can see it, man. I feel like we're more fundamentally sound. Again, I know it's just 2 games, and I don't want to overreact, but we just feel more fundamentally sound. Guys are flying around the football. Guys are making plays. They're playing with excitement. They're playing like their hair is on fire. And that's the thing. I don't care if you make mistakes. I don't care if you blow a coverage. I don't even care if you miss a tackle. But if you're going to mess up going full speed. Don't the things that killed us, right, as Gamecock fans, like last year and the previous regime, was these mistakes where guys were overthinking, busted coverages, and you had the talent, and there was no excuse. There was no excuse for the mistakes you were making. Now, I say you're not nearly as talented, especially in the secondary, as you were last year, but all of a sudden you're playing so much better. I mean, I'm not convinced, guys, that ECU doesn't torch you last year with last year's team and last year's defense. I'm not convinced they don't. But an incredible job by that Gamecocks defense. Again, guys, Damani Staley's pick, the pick 6, second straight week, by the way, with an interception for a return for a touchdown. How about that? Your defense, you leaned on them single-handedly, just keeping you in the football game and basically winning the football game for you. Now, switching to the offensive side. I think the Zeb Noland for Heisman campaign is officially dead. I'm going to start there. The legend of Zeb Noland, of course, guys, lived on Saturday when he was named the Gamecock starting quarterback in pregame. And I told you guys on Thursday and Friday that the smoke, there was a lot of smoke around Zeb Noland is going to get the start for the Gamecocks. And it turned out to be true. Luke Doty did not see the field. No other quarterback saw the field other than Zeb Noland. And you take a look at his statistics. Not terrible, right? The statistics themselves are not terrible. 13 of 24. He did have a pick, but 1 touchdown, 214 yards, and he was sacked 3 times. Guys, Zeb Noland is Colin Hill all over again. I mean, Zeb Noland's Colin Hill 2.0. Is he not? Is he not? Am I crazy for saying that? Which is fine, by the way. I'm not. That's not me saying that trying to knock him or anything, but the skill set is exactly the same. But as I've been saying, and I hate to repeat myself, but as I've been saying, the best version of this football team and the best version of this offense is with Luke Doty under center, especially if you're going to continue to have issues on your offensive line. It's a no-brainer that Luke Doty gives this football team the best chance to win. And I'll be honest with you guys, because I know that one of the narratives, there were a lot of people saying, oh, well, if you don't start Luke Doty in this one, you can't start him against Georgia this upcoming weekend. You just can't throw him to the Wolves like that and start him against Georgia. And again, we'll talk more about this later in the week when we're talking about the Georgia game specifically. But I got to be honest, guys, I understand the thinking to a degree, but I totally disagree. Because You've got the Kentucky Wildcats following Georgia, which is a home game, which will be another pivotal game in shaping the 2021 season for Shane Beamer and his squad. I don't think it's in your best interest to put out or to, let's say, reserve Luke Doty this weekend, keep him off the field for whatever reason, and then thrust him into action when he's rusty, has not gotten game reps this season, and thrust him into action against Kentucky, again, in a game that will be pivotal for shaping your season and could be one of those huge wins early in the Shane Beamer era. So while I think Gamecock fans' intentions are good in regards to what you should do at the quarterback position, you need to get Luke Doty out there as soon as possible. Like the second he's 110% healthy, guys, which again, he didn't play Saturday, so that tells you he was not good enough to go. And Beamer mentioned that, he's still dealing with soreness, and you just hope and pray and keep your fingers crossed that he will be ready to go this week. But overall, Zeb Nolan, I hope selfishly this is the end of the Zeb Nolan saga. And the reason I say that is this, because it's been a great story, right? It's been an awesome story, a wacky story, a wild story. GA comes to South Carolina, thinks his career's over, thinks he's hung up the cleats forever, all of a sudden gets another opportunity, and who knows, how about it? He wins the starting job for the University of South Carolina, and he balls out in week 1. He leads a team to a last-second field goal victory in a game they had to have in week 2. Let that be where the legend ends for Zeb Nolan, because I fear you look at his game, guys, again, there's a reason he was holding a clipboard just a month ago. I mean, there's a reason. There's a reason he came to South Carolina with the initial plans of, I'm hanging him up and I'm never playing again. You can see it. You can see it on the field. So again, I don't think there's any debate in regards to who QB1 is. It is Luke Doty. The offensive line is my biggest issue, though. We could talk everything on offense. We could talk receivers, which we will, tight end. We can talk about all these guys, all these playmakers who should be quarterback number 1. If you can't block, if your offensive line can't be any better than what we've seen to this point, none of it matters. Guys, none of it matters. I told you guys after the first game, it's like, hey, you still ran for 260 yards or so. It wasn't quite the dominating performance, but it is week 1. No big deal. And I expected the offensive line to make a massive improvement from week 1 to week 2 and have their way. And that's all we talked about all week going in this game was you have the advantage in the trenches. You have the advantage in the trenches. You should be able to push them around. You should be able to have your way in the running game. I mean, what did we watch? What was going on? What is going on with this offensive line right now? Because it's not like you've just got bad players up there. At least I don't believe so. I mean, again, we're talking about a line returned 4 of 5 starters, over 80 career starts. And I mean, dude, you got pushed around for 75% of that game. Guys, a football team with the caliber of running backs that South Carolina possesses, and I know sack yardage is in this equation. But a football team with the running backs that South Carolina possesses should never get to halftime with negative 11 rushing yards. Guys, you average 2.9 yards per carry. Excuse me, I'm mistaken. You average 2.8 yards per carry against East Carolina. 2.8 yards per carry against East Carolina. Only 323 yards of offense. We're talking about an ECU defensive front. You only had 109 yards rushing, guys. We're talking about an ECU defensive front that last year averaged giving up 201 yards per game. And in week 1, gave up 226 yards rushing to the Appalachian State Mountaineers, which, by the way, credit to App State. If you did not watch App State Miami, App State is a very, very good football team. Absolutely no doubt. But you had 109 rushing yards against ECU. And after week 1, I said, okay, it's week 1. No big deal. Maybe my expectations were a little too high, but overall, solid performance. I'm starting to become a little worried about the Gamecocks offensive line, because I tell you what, if they don't improve, if you're not any better, it is going to be a long season. I don't give a damn who's playing quarterback. I don't give a damn which running back's getting the ball. I don't give a damn who the number one receiver is. If you cannot open holes, that's where it starts, guys. That's where it starts, in the trenches. I don't know what's going on. Greg Adkins, those guys, I don't know whose head needs to get out of whose ass, but something's got to get figured out. Bottom line, something has to get figured out on the offensive front. You got away with it on Saturday. You got away with it somehow, some way. And I'll tell you this, the game went exactly like I thought it would, in the sense of, and I had a feeling late third quarter, early fourth quarter, I was like, you know what? It feels like at some point our athletes are just better. And our athletes are going to wear down East Carolina. Like, it almost had the feeling of, like, how long can ECU really keep this up? How long can they keep this up for? And then you eventually started to see it. South going to wear them down. And, of course, Juju McDowell and what he did at the running back position, which we'll talk about more in just a second. But you started to see the Gamecocks actually have some success on the ground and start to wear down that East Carolina defense, especially. But it goes without saying, the running game has got to be better. It's got to be better. Because in games where South Carolina cannot run the football, guys, it's not going to win. That's it. This team, if you didn't notice yesterday, guys, because, again, we're talking about how great the defense was, and, you know, you've only given up 2 third-down conversions, which are both facts, and they've been fantastic. They've been clutch. They won you the game, arguably, on Saturday. But you also only went 2 for 12 on third downs yourself. And I don't know if you noticed this on Saturday, but this is not a football team that is capable of winning in 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 9s. 3rd and long is the no-go zone for South Carolina. You never go there. You should not be there. If you are there, things did not go according to plan on 1st and 2nd down. You should not be in the 3rd and longs. We're not built to win in down and distance like that. Running game has got to be better, period. And I'll tell you what, a guy that's going to help make it better, I mean, how about Juju McDowell, bro? How about Juju McDowell? What an incredible performance. You know, we heard about this guy all preseason long. And I'll tell you what, one of my buddies behind the scenes with Gamecocks football actually told me, he's like, Chris, I think he's the best offensive player on the roster right now. Like, that's how good he's looked in camp. And even with the rants and raves from fall camp and all the great reviews, we all sort of just still felt like, I mean, yeah, that's great, but you've got Kevin Harris, you've got Marshawn Lloyd, you've got Zaquandre White, you've got this laundry list of great running backs. Where is Juju really going to fit in? Like, how is he going to get carries? How is he going to get reps? I mean, behold, ladies and gentlemen, behold, what a game. I mean, you could look at his performance. He single-handedly sparked the football team with his big kickoff return. How much does it say for Shane Beamer and company to roll with the freshman on the final drive? Insane. I mean, absolutely insane. You know, in regards to the running game, I will tell you this, talking play calling. And again, all is forgiven, right? When you win, all is forgiven. So all the things that we'd probably be bitching and moaning about here on this Monday, we're not doing it quite as viciously because we won, right? Like, winning cures all. But I'd like to see South kind of be a little more stingy in the run game. You know, I know you threw 24 passes. I mean, you did have 39 rushing attempts, but it just felt like too often, you know, we'd run for, let's just say, 3 yards on first down. I had a lot more confidence on Saturday that South Carolina could run it 3 times and get a first down versus pass it 3 times and get a first down. Like, don't overthink this thing, guys. Don't overcomplicate this thing. If you're Marcus Satterfield, hey, Marcus Satterfield has shit out more football than I'll ever know in my life. But it just feels like to me, man, like, we got to ride our strength. And our strength, whether we are blocking right now or not, you have got to believe the strength of this football team is going to be running the football. Shout out, by the way, in the passing game, Josh Vann. I told you guys in the preseason, there's going to be a few players that benefit greatly from a brand new coaching staff and a new voice and a new culture, and they're going to look like new players. And Josh Vann looks the part, every bit of it. A guy that, of course, I was excited when he got recruited. 4-star prospect out of Tucker, Georgia. You watched his high school tape. Guys making circus catches, but we never saw anything from him. He was either injured, he was buried on the depth chart. Josh Vann has emerged, guys, as that dude. He has emerged as your number one option. Also, Dak Joyner. How about Dak Joyner? The biggest catch of his career, undoubtedly. Undoubtedly, the biggest catch of his career. Shout out to that young man. Everything he's put up with and went through, and the position changes, and do I transfer, do I not, and sticking it out and being a Gamecock. You love to see him make that play. Love to see him make that play. And so many guys, it's crazy, man. In a game that had so many mistakes. Also, by the way, you notice I haven't mentioned it. Yes, guys, I know the officiating was terrible. The home cooking was obvious. But that gets me to my point of, in a game where so many things went against you, in a game where there were so many mistakes, and guys, at times, people on social media talking about it was an embarrassing performance at times. Embarrassing is what they said. The bottom line is this, though. You found a way to win. That's it. And it's kind of interesting how there are so many heroes in this game. Again, a game even that was far from perfect. I mean, sloppy, downright ugly to watch at times. So many guys emerged. So many guys stepped up again. I didn't even mention J.J. Nigbare. I didn't even mention Brad Johnson and Aaron Sterling. Everybody on that defensive front. Obviously, we know what we have. We know what we have at the defensive front. That is for certain. Those dudes are going to be a problem all season. No question. But the bottom line, the biggest takeaway, and again, I'm getting into my biggest takeaway from this Saturday. My biggest takeaway from this Saturday, guys, is this. The culture is slowly but surely changing in Columbia, South Carolina. Because, again, you had every reason to lose that football game. I even looked at my buddy into the third quarter and said, we deserve to lose. Flat out. The way we have played, we deserve to lose this football game, right? And thankfully you didn't. But that's how I felt in the moment. Like, man, how we are playing like straight up dog, and we deserve to lose. But in a game, literally everything went against you. Everything. From the calls, which, by the way, not all the calls were wrong, but it was like every call that was 50-50 was going against South Carolina. Every single one of them. You had turnovers. You had penalties which, I mean, that's got to get fixed. No question. Shane Beamer knows that. And that's part of the culture change, guys. Like I told you, it's going to be a slow process. It doesn't just happen overnight. You got to give Shane Beamer time to fix those things. You have to. Hey, I'll say this publicly right here. Love Cam Smith. Love the way he played. But he's got a little bit of J.C. Horn and Israel Kwamu in him. And I don't mean that in a positive way. I mean that in a, showboating and selfish and me. And you can't do those things. That's the culture Shane Beamer's trying to change. And it'll happen, but it's going to be a slow process. But we're talking about a game again. Everything went against you. You did not play your best football, far from it. You were on the road. You were on the road against the team that, looked poised to make the upset. Hey, you got punched in the mouth early, guys. And what did I tell you? How does this football team respond to adversity? Can you weather the storm? Can you win anyway? To steal the phrase from Gamecocks baseball. Can you win anyway? Despite everything, all the shit going on around you, when you don't have your best stuff and you don't play your best game. And you know what? The answer to that question was yes. And you found a way to win either way. That's the biggest takeaway from Saturday. If you want to bitch and moan because Carolina only won by 3 and complain about this and complain about that, again, guys, like I told you, we got the Daily Crow all week. We got the podcast all week. you guys know the drill. I'm going to be very honest and blunt about things, and especially when we're talking about Georgia and realistically your chances in that football game, I will be very, very honest with you all. But we're 2-0. That's the bottom line. Like, we are 2-0. We're 2-0 right now for the first time in 4 years. I mean, guys, Shane Beamer, the first South Carolina head football coach in 4 decades to start his career 2-0 as South Carolina's head football coach. And you can see it, right? You can see the culture changing. You can see it. I know some may be underwhelmed with a 20-17 win, and some may look at that game at the end of the season as a footnote, but I think the importance of that win, first off, with the scope of the 2021 season and get into a bowl game. I drilled that in you guys' head. You all know why that was such an important win and a win that you had to have. But more importantly, I think what this game serves as and represents. Again, Shane Beamer is slowly but surely changing the culture. He's doing his damnedest to change it as quickly as possible. And I think when you can go through adversity and you can fight through it and you can fight scratch and claw and you can show toughness and you can show heart and you can show determination and you can win a football game like that, it serves, in my opinion, as another building block. It's another stepping stone. It's another piece to what Shane Beamer is building in Columbia. And he can look at his football team. He can look at his players and say, hey, it's reinforcement as to why you do what you do, right? It's reinforcement. Hey, this is why we're telling you these things. This is why we're doing these things. This is why we're leading with love. This is why we say above all else, love. That's why we say those things. We're not just full of shit. We're not just blowing smoke up you. There's a purpose for it all. There's a purpose. And I think that's what that football game on Saturday, more importantly than anything, guys, because again, in 10 years from now, I doubt South Carolina ECU from 2021, the 20-17 game, we're going to look at and say, oh, that was one of the greatest games I've ever been to. Or it was one of the greatest games I've watched. Maybe not. But early on in Shane Beamer's tenure, when he's building his program and he's changing the culture, that game serves as, like I said, a stepping stone for you in a way. It serves as reinforcement as to what you are doing. There is a purpose. There's a method to the madness, if you will. But there's a purpose in everything. And what the coaching staff, what everybody around Gamecocks football is telling these guys, it's for their best interest. Winning cures all, right? Winning helps to, solidify those things. And again, to reinforce that what you are doing is working. So again, there are many issues with this football team. I try to tell you guys that going into the weekend. Like I said, I'm not an I told you so type of guy, but the people that were picking South Carolina to win 42-20 and 38-7. And, I had a guy call me, Saturday morning, Chris, I'm telling you, we're going to win 38-3. Guys, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. South Carolina is a very imperfect football team. Now, when you look at this football team, there are pieces. I think you can see it, right? There are pieces. There are nice individual pieces there that could lead you to a 6-win season, which is why I picked it. But realistically, top to bottom, this is a football team that has holes, that has issues, that has deficiencies. I mean, guys, quarterback is still a major question mark. I'm high on Luke Doty. I can't wait till he gets back. But he's a question mark. Until proven otherwise, Luke Doty is. So you got a major question mark at quarterback. Your receiver room, as happy as I am with Josh Vann and what he did, and Dak Joyner making, I would say, the biggest catch of his Gamecocks career, top to bottom, the receiver room is still a major question, and it's probably one of the worst in the SEC. Probably is the worst in the SEC. If that hurts your feelings, I don't really care. That's just the reality. Tight ends are solid, but we didn't see anything out of them really on Saturday. You like your running back room. I'm not sure really what's going on with Marshawn Lloyd because he hasn't quite been what we hoped for and expected. And I think Marshawn right now is kind of stuck in. He's trying to hit the home run every single play. And it's like, we just need you to be a productive running back. Like, don't worry about all this juking and jiving and trying to go 70 yards every time. Just gain yardage. Don't lose yardage. That's it. You got questions on the offensive line. I mean, God forbid that you thought it was going to be a strength of your football team. Defensively, you love your front. No question. Linebacker, you like what you've seen from Brad Johnson. The rest of those guys, And then in the secondary, I love what you're seeing from guys like Darius Rush, Jalen Dickerson, Cam Smith. But we'll see what happens when the competition level rises. And guys, as good as the Gamecocks defense has been the first 2 weeks, I still don't think you're an elite defensive unit or even near it yet. Again, let's see what happens when these guys start to play more legitimate competition. Because the fact of the matter is this, you beat a bad ECU team on a last-second field goal, right? That's just the reality of where you are. And that's okay. That's okay, but that's where you are as a football team. And that's what I tried to tell you guys last week, that, hey, we have some good individual pieces, but as a whole right now, it's going to take time. It's game 2 of year 1 of Shane Beamer in Columbia. It's just going to take time, guys. And you can especially see it on the offense. Like, this offense never had a rhythm. It felt very just confusing. Nobody was in a groove. Nobody was doing anything. But again, the bottom line is this, guys, and the main takeaway, because I don't want to dampen anybody's parade. I don't want to be negative Nancy here on a Monday. Again, the realities around Gamecocks football are there. And also, by the way, shout out on a positive note, special teams. Special teams continues to be a plus. Parker White making the game-winning field goal. Juju in the kickoff return, which we'll talk about more in just a second. But special teams, Beamer Ball 2.0. Well, what more can you say? Shane Beamer and Pete Limbo doing an incredible job thus far. But there are holes, there are issues, there are deficiencies on this football team. No questions about it. If you had it in your mind that South Carolina was some 8 or 9 win team, hopefully Saturday was that reality check that, hey, guys, this is a bit of a rebuild for Shane Beamer. Don't set improper expectations on your first-year head football coach. Bottom line. If you don't like that, so be it. I don't care. Don't set improper expectations for your first-year head football coach. Understand, this roster is nowhere near being a contender in the SEC. Not even close. It's realistically a roster that has to kick a last-second field goal to beat East Carolina. And I know many of you out there, and I kind of got to chuckle at some of the people on social media that, well, you know, if they didn't hit the first trick play touchdown and, you know, the refs and this and that, guys, well, that's not how sports works. It did happen. You did fumble into the end zone. You did juggle a ball in the end zone and not catch it for a touchdown. Those things happened, right? But the bottom line and the takeaway is you overcame. You overcame. You won anyways. I talked about all summer. I was so looking forward to what does this football team look like when it runs into adversity. That's when you learn. That's where culture's built. Forget all the welcome home and the positive energy and the positive, and that's all great. All that stuff that happened over the summer is great. But a game like Saturday and overcoming and winning and the things that we saw, that is where culture is truly built. And that's the biggest takeaway. And that's the biggest positive, I think, from Saturday's game. Because, again, you didn't win the national title. You didn't win the SEC, right? But getting that win in the fashion in which you did, the culture's changing. The culture is changing. And, again, it was one, obviously, in the scope of this season you had to have, but in the scope of Shane Beamer building his football program. Kudos to all parties involved. Kudos to everyone. I don't care that you only won by 3, which, by the way, was Vegas right or was Vegas right? Gamecocks -2. I mean, they hit the nail on the freaking head with that one. But in a game that you feel like, at least at some points, you said, we have no business winning this football game, and you got the job done either way. Kudos to everyone involved. So, again, a lot of things to correct, a lot of things to work out. It gets real on Saturday, and we'll spend this week talking Georgia, and we'll spend this week breaking that thing down. And I will be very honest with you all. I mean, of course, but what else do you expect at this point, right? It gets real with SEC play. Kentucky looked really damn good on Saturday night. Mizzou looks pretty good. Florida's Florida and Georgia's Georgia. Tennessee, I know they lost to Pitt. They're going to be a challenge. It's going to get real. We're going to find out for real, who this football team is. But again, to overcome, to battle, to show that character, that heart, and to overcome adversity and get punched in the face, because you got punched in the face. For this football team to get punched in the face and respond the way they did. Kudos to all parties involved. Kudos to all parties involved. So again, guys, my biggest takeaway, though, I already dove into it. My biggest takeaway from Saturday, the culture is slowly but surely changing in Columbia. And it's a joy to see. Like I said, guys, just keep expectations realistic for your first-year head coach. I mean, the picks of 42-7 and a 28-point win on Saturday, guys, that's not who this football team is right now. I hate to burst your bubble. I hate to be that guy. That's not who this team is yet. It'll get there. It'll get there, and it's okay. It'll get there, but it's not there yet. But let Shane Beamer build. Let him work. Let him work. It's going to be a little bit of a wacky first season. Try to tell you that. But let him work. It's much more fun to have teachable moments and things to correct coming off of a win than it is coming off of a loss. So thank God, truly, because I'll tell you what, we're sitting here on a Monday. I still don't know how the Gamecocks won that football game, but thank God they did. Thank God they did. And now you sit here at 2-0. All right, let's hand out some game balls, by the way, guys, on that note. And I'm normally going to pick 3 to 4 players, by the way, guys, and I'm going to try to switch it up week to week to week. So again, like a game like this, there's a ton of guys. I mean, there's a laundry list of dudes you could have given game balls to. But the first one I'm going to hand out, and I talked about him earlier, is just a guy that we're all pulling for, right? I mean, this dude has, put up with everything from start to finish in regards to his career. Does he transfer? Does he not? Changing positions, not on the field enough. He's not utilized. Dak Joyner, the carry-on Joyner, to make the play that he made on Saturday, to make that play, without a doubt, the biggest catch of his South Carolina career. For him to make that play and make a difference in that football game, you just love to see it, man. I don't know if there's a guy on the roster that deserves it more than the carry-on Joyner. And someone that, again, is he going to be your number one option? Is he going to be an all-conference guy? Is he going to be an all-American? Probably not. But you can see it in a guy like Dak Joyner, that a new voice, a new culture, a new coach, Justin Stepp, it's obviously made a very positive impact on him, and you absolutely love to see that. So, again, he only had 1 catch on Saturday, I believe. Let's see. He had 5 catches. My bad. 5 catches for 38 yards. But the touchdown, the biggest catch of his South Carolina football career. So, again, kudos to the carry-on Joyner. You, sir, get a TSUS game ball. My second game ball. Again, without this play, I don't think you win the football game. I just don't. Completely changed the momentum and shifted the hope and expectations of how that game was going to possibly turn out. And that is Mr. Damani Staley. What a play. Second week in a row. Big man, rumbling, bumbling, stumbling, touchdown. Damani Staley, a guy that, again, not an all-conference guy, not an all-American, right? But made the play when it mattered. Right place, right time, baby. And he did not get tackled. He did not trip. He did not fall. None of it. You take it back right before the half. All of a sudden, it's 14-7. You're getting the ball to start the second half. The whole scope of that game looks different. Whole scope of that game changed. Without that play, again, guys, like I said, you don't win that football game. You don't. Damani Staley, 4 total tackles in the game. But the big play, the pick six, 63 yards he went on that interception return. How about that? Great stuff. What a play. My final game ball, guys, I'm going to give out. This one's a no-brainer, which, again, I don't want to be an I told you so guy. Like, I really am not. But, man, there were so many things that happened that I feel like I'm getting a little too good at this. I feel like I know this team a little too well. Because in the preseason, guys, literally August 15th, I think was the date. You might have seen me share this on Twitter. All the way back in August, I was talking special teams, and I was talking Parker White, and I talked about, what a luxury it is for South Carolina to have a guy like Parker White, a veteran. He's been through his own share of adversity, but he's been there. He's done that. He's kicked game winners. Because you know what? For a team that is fighting, scratching, and clawing to get to 6 wins and get to bowl eligibility, hey, you're going to need a guy like Parker White to maybe hit a game winner for you. And sure enough, what happens in the second game of this season? Parker White drills the game winner. So, most undoubtedly deserves a game ball. Kudos to Mr. Parker White, the Gamecocks veteran kicker. All right, let's do a slap dick of the weekend, guys. And this one was hands down probably the easiest decision of anything we're handing out this week. And it happened, by the way, it didn't happen during the weekend, but there was nothing that happened during last week or the weekend that topped this. The slap dig of the weekend. Can you imagine? Try to understand this. Can you imagine saying that if a coach loses the second game of his coaching tenure, he's going to be fired? Is that not the most absurd thing you've ever heard? Yes, you guys saw it on social media. We posted it. So again, slap dig of the weekend, 82 Pirate and his quote-unquote cocky insider that he referenced. on the ECU message board talking about, my buddy says that the rumor is Beamer will get fired if they lose to us. He said it with the conviction of a cocky insider. Bro, God, message boards are just the gutter scum of the internet. Like, really, no offense to anybody who's on one. No offense to anybody who is on one. But my God. So 82 Pirate and his cocky insider, congratulations. You're the slap dicks of the weekend. Kudos. Good stuff. Put that on your freaking resume. All right, final award here. Let's move into the Cock of the Walk award, which, by the way, the amount of people that balked at the name of this, do people not understand what the Cock of the Walk means? The Cock of the Walk is like the biggest, baddest rooster, right? Like the leader of the pack, if you, I don't know, however you want to phrase it, but that's what the Cock of the Walk is. Like, if you say you're the Cock of the Walk, like, man, you're the alpha. You stand out above all the rest. So that's what it means, in case you don't know what the hell I was talking about last week. It's basically our game MVP, though. But the Cock of the Walk award, and there are many, many players to choose from for this, because, again, a lot of guys, even in a game that was sloppy and was downright hard to watch at times, there were a lot of guys who showed out. But the guy that this award has to go to, in my opinion, for the weekend, a guy that sparked this football team in a couple of different ways and came up clutch when the Gamecocks needed him most. And that is the youngster, the running back, Juju McDowell. Who'd have thought, guys, in a crowded running back room like this one with Kevin Harris, Marshawn Lloyd, Zaquandre White, Rashad Amos, we'd be talking about anybody else, namely Juju McDowell. 11 carries for Juju on Saturday, 71 yards, 6.5 yards per carry. Really, like I said, guys, late in the game, sparked a Gamecocks running attack that otherwise had done nothing all day long. He also had the big kickoff return for 63 yards that sparked the game-tying touchdown. So overall, a guy that when he made plays, they were big plays that had a major, major impact on the football game. So again, my Cock of the Walk award goes to the freshman running back, Mr. Juju McDowell. Congratulations to all of our winners. And again, guys, in closing, this is an imperfect football team. This football team has issues. This football team has deficiencies. We all understand that, and we all know that. But on this Monday, folks, on this Monday right here, this Monday, September the 13th, 2021, soak it in. Soak it in. Celebrate. It's okay. It's okay. I know many of you tuned in. You couldn't believe that we were making such a big deal about ECU. You couldn't believe that people were picking it to be so close. You couldn't believe the Vegas spread. But instead of complaining and griping about what you don't have, take time to appreciate what you do have. And what you do have is a 2-0 football team. Kudos to Shane Beamer. Kudos to that coaching staff. Kudos to all those players involved. You could have easily laid down and lost Saturday. Bottom line, you could have quit. You had every reason to. Nothing was going your way. Oh, woe is me. Hang your head. Oh, what is Coach Beamer telling us? Oh, my God, like none of it's working. What's going on? You saw none of that. You saw none of that. And it's like Perry Orth told me way back in December when Shane Beamer was hired. He said, you can do a lot more with a lot less when you've got a group of guys and a collective that is bought into the message, they're bought into the culture, and they're bought into what their coaches and staff are telling them. And you can obviously tell that right now, again, this is not the most talented football team. This is not the best football team. This football team has issues. No questions asked. But damn it, this football team's bought in. This football team believes in its head coach right now. For the most part, from what we can tell, this football team believes in what it's being told, and you saw that show up on Saturday. So again, kudos to Shane Beamer, man. Kudos to Gamecocks football. It feels good to be good. Feels good to be good, folks. Feels good to be 2-0. Feels good to be 2-0. And yeah, not everybody in the state of South Carolina can say that. So I'll leave it at that. Yeah, 2-0, baby. 2-0. On to Athens we go. All right, let's move into news and notes, guys, and we'll get to your listener questions and voicemails. And like I said, we have a great conversation at the end of this one as well. Just a quick note. I want to give a shout out to friend of the show, Elliott Fry. He was signed to the Falcons practice squad. Really, really good stuff for Elliott. It's crazy he can't find a job because, I mean, he's as dependable as they come in regards to kicker. So Falcons sign Elliott Fry, congratulations. Again, friend of the show, Elliott Fry. Lastly, last note, and again, we will talk about this more, guys, later in the week, but I love Sundays for this reason, for many reasons, but this is definitely one of the reasons, because the Vegas spreads and over-unders drop every Sunday. And it's just so intriguing seeing what the initial line is and what, again, I know some of you probably don't gamble, some of you probably don't care, but I think it's just interesting to see like what the national perspective and what the Vegas perspective, guys, because Vegas, as you saw last week, they know what they're talking about. Vegas gets it, right? They don't have any biases. They're not a Gamecocks fan. They're not a Bulldogs fan. They're not a Clemson fan. They're not an ECU fan. They're a fan of money. So they're going to make a line that's going to make them money. And like I said, boy, oh boy, did they hit it last week or over the weekend. But the line for South Carolina, Georgia dropped over the weekend. Gamecocks are a 32-point underdog. Wow. Even I was shocked. Even I was surprised that the spread was quite that high. How close did Vegas get it? Because every Gamecocks fan you talk to, every Gamecocks fan, you read comments on social media, hammer South Carolina plus 32, hammer South Carolina plus 32. We'll talk about it more as we go throughout the week. We'll talk about it more as we go throughout the week. Again, I'm shocked that the spread is that high. I truly am. I'm shocked it's that many points. But when you factor in how Georgia played defensively week one, they have real firepower on the offense. And South Carolina, like I said, guys, will go into Athens with still a plethora of questions. Did we learn a lot about this Gamecocks football team on Saturday? We started to. We certainly started to. We learned that Josh Vann is your number one option on the outside. I think it's safe to say that. We learned that Juju McDowell needs to touch the football more, and he is a real threat offensively. We learned that, unfortunately, right now, the offensive line is not playing worth a damn. We learned that your defense will probably be a little bit better than expected. How much better, I don't know. But they're going to be better than expected and most certainly better than they were last year. But there's also many, many, many question marks that still surround this football team. And the thing, like I said, guys, earlier, that we learned more than anything, we learned this is a football team that has character, that has heart, that has fight, that has grit, that has determination. And that might be, I would say it is more valuable than any individual player or what have you. So you're going to continue to learn about this football team. But the 32, I think you factor in all those question marks, what Georgia's done early in this season, how good Georgia is. I mean, guys, I picked Georgia to win the national title. They're obviously pretty damn good. I know some people say, well, the South Carolina Georgia series has been close. I mean, guys, I agree with you to an extent, but let's not pretend like there haven't been games where Georgia's kicked South Carolina's ass, because there have. 2020 is a great example. 2018 is a great example. 2015 is a great example. I mean, it's happened before, right? It's happened before. Anyways, we'll worry about Georgia later this week, but 32 points. That is the spread. The Gamecocks are a massive road underdog going into Athens on Saturday. All right, let's move to your listener questions and voicemails, guys. We'll start with voicemails. We do have a couple. So we'll go ahead and start with these.
Yo, what's up, Chris? Happy you got the dub 2-0. I think they said this only the second coach in the history getting 2-0, so definitely happy you got the dub. The game kind of went how I thought it would go. Very sloppy at times. Offensive line still struggled a good bit in that first half and third quarter. We definitely know that Zeb Nolan isn't our QB. I mean, he did come through clutch late, and I do give props to that. But Luke Doty is definitely our QB1. So hopefully he's healthy and ready to go against Georgia, because I feel like that's the only chance, if we even want to compete with Georgia, he's the only chance of competing with him. But the D-line is still elite. We knew that. The cornerback play really surprised me today. He did have a couple of miscues, but it definitely did surprise me. Definitely thought it was going to give up more yards. But again, this is still ECU, still got to go through the SEC schedule. But the defense definitely impressed me today. Hopefully it keeps balling out. And yeah, man, just hopefully we can keep going. I definitely also want to talk about two players that, just absolutely surprised me today that you would have never known. Josh Van and Cam Smith. We definitely know the problem with those guys were coaching because, when have we ever seen Josh Van do this? When was Cam Smith ever considered a lockdown corner? And so those are two guys that are definitely just surprised me. Josh Van is definitely going to be our wide receiver one for the season, and Cam, our lockdown corner. And so it's just good to see development happening on our team because it feels like we would get 4 or 5 stars on Muschamp, but they would never even come close to the level they can play, or they would just never do anything. So it's just good to see those guys doing something. They've been in Carolina so long, it's hard to see them balling. So hopefully we can keep it going, and hopefully we can keep continuing. Go Cox.
All right, appreciate the call, man. I'm going to start on a little bit of a different note. I'm pretty sure it was this same caller who just left that voicemail that called in on Friday to the Daily Crow, Thursday or Friday, and disagreed with me wholeheartedly in my score prediction and thought that, we're going to just wax ECU and we're going to go into Georgia. And we've got all these, we've got, just as good a chance as any to beat Georgia. And it's interesting to hear the tone change here on this Monday. And again, I'm not happy about that. I'm not boasting. I'm not gloating. I'm not saying I told you so. But again, I think a lot of fans got a little humbled over the weekend in regards to, okay, we do have some issues. We do have some problems. We are an imperfect football team, which again is okay, but it's just the reality right now. Either way, back to your voicemail though. Yeah, and again, I definitely think you can see that there were certainly some guys on this roster that a new voice and a change at the top has done wonders for them. Josh Van, I think Cam Smith was always that dude, just didn't get the opportunity last year because, being behind J.C. Horn and Ishmael Kwama, I think he's just improved. But certainly Josh Van, the carry-on joiner, you love Cam Smith at the defensive back position. And, like you said, man, a great win. Luke Doty, you definitely need him. Best version of your football team, best version of your offense is with Luke Doty under center. There's no question there. You need to get him back as soon as possible. Like I said, man, I understand that, don't throw him to the wolves. You need to get Luke Doty in there as soon as possible. You just do. He needs to play the best version of your team to have any chance against Georgia, especially with the way your offensive line is playing. You're going to need a guy back there who is mobile, who can beat you with his legs, can give you some sort of dynamic capability offensively. Because Zeb Nolan, appreciate the guy, love the guy. He ain't it. I do not want to endure an SEC season with Zeb Nolan as my starting quarterback. I'm sorry. I just don't. So, all right, we got one more voicemail. Let's jump to this real quick.
Hey, Chris. Had to leave a voicemail after this. Just a huge sigh of relief just to get the heck out of there with the W. Heck of a game by the defense. They kept us in it. Obviously made the big play before the half to get the pick six to Monty Staley. I thought he was going to run out of gas for a minute and get chased down, but took it the whole way. Defensive line played a fantastic game. It is amazing to me how night and day it is between this and the previous years, because you see a defense that's swarming to the ball, they're tackling. There were some big hits in this game, an opportunistic defense. It's very refreshing to see. Are they a perfect defense by any means? No, they're not. But you can see the change fundamentally. You can see the tackling. You can see the coaching. This is a solid unit. Obviously, they're going to be tested next week and the following weeks with the schedule. Offensively, the offensive line it was really bad first half. It was unspeakable. I just couldn't believe it. I've never been that frustrated. They got something going late in the game with that outside zone run with Juju McDowell. Hats off to him. Big kickoff return when he had 10 carries, 70 yards, something like that. Really hats off. Wish they would have got the ball to Kevin Harris a little more. Maybe he's just not 100%. Josh Van, hats off to him. I hated he couldn't get that touchdown. Fumble going in at the goal line. They overturned his other touchdown, but hell of a game by him. And the guy I want to give praise to is Ty Kroger with the hold on that first field goal by Parker White. Snap was insanely high. What a hold, getting it down and getting laces out. Parker with the game-winning field goal. Beamer ball at its finest. We know what's ahead next week. It's going to be a challenge, but let's see how the guys come out and do it. Look, you're 2-0. This is what we needed. If you were going to get to 6 wins, this is what you had to have. So go Conks, baby.
Tim, very well said. Great stuff. It's always great to hear from Tim, man. Great perspective. I'm so glad you brought that up. And I apologize, by the way. I apologize to Kai Kroger for going this far into the show without mentioning him. Yeah, that hold was insane. I mean, special teams as a whole had a fantastic game. That hold by Kai Kroger, though, if you do not recall what he's talking about, I'm sure you do, though. And again, I'm going to probably make it a point to post it on social media because that was one of the underrated moments in the game as well. That could have been an absolute disaster when you had that high snap and he's able to get it down. And Parker White obviously having a great day, but he can't have a great day if you don't have a great holder. You don't have a great hold. Don't have a hold that allows you to get the kick up. So kudos to Kai Kroger, man. Absolutely insane. You absolutely love to see it. And but overall, everything you said, Tim, I'm glad you gave kudos as well to the defense. I mean, like we mentioned, man, it's just it truly is night and day. Again, we're not a perfect defense by any stretch of the imagination. I still think, like I said, I still kind of question the secondary, and is that going to be a deficiency? Is that going to be a problem for us moving forward? But we're just swarming around the football. We're playing with reckless abandonment. We are playing fast, right? We're not playing timid and thinking a lot. We're just flying around. We're just playing football. Hit the man with the ball. It's just literally that simple. And I think you're seeing us do that. And again, Clayton White, he's done a great job early in the season as well in regards to play calling. So it truly is night and day different. I'll tell you what, it's a lot more fun to watch too. It's a lot more fun to watch this defense versus what we saw the past couple of seasons. So, all right, let's get into your questions, guys, and then we'll get into our conversation with Brad Crawford of 247 Sports. Joseph McLaren says, we need Doty ASAP. Yeah, I would agree. Head trainer Wes, great win. Just had a feeling they'd pull it out. A lot of 2011 vibes at Go Cox. Would like to add, would have loved to see more calls to ward off the zero blitz, screen, draw, etc. I'm surprised we didn't see a lot of screens. That was very surprising to me. The game aged me, head hit. Marius 3811, defense can keep us in games. It can right now. Offensively, you just got to get better, though. You got to get better offensively all the way around. KJ Gee, discipline. Eliminate the dumb, selfish penalties. Coaches need to clean that stuff up. Again, guys, it's a slow process. They're working to change the culture. That's it. I don't like seeing people on social media that are putting it all in the coaching. You don't think they're doing their damnedest to get that out of these guys? I can assure you they are. To hell with Georgia. Yes, it is Georgia week. To hell with Georgia. Casey Culler, I'd be really surprised if Juju isn't the main back at the end of the season. Kid is a stud. Yeah, again, it's wild, man. It's an embarrassment of riches at the running back position. Nearly capable in the season in the first half. And that was a comment, by the way. It's not me saying that. Sancelli 4. Defense is looking scary. Secondary is inconsistent, but the D-line is elite. The D-line's really, really good. I mean, you just got athletes on that defensive line. Jirac, did this beat? Thoughts on Zeb Nolan? Again, I didn't think he played terrible. He most certainly played much better in the second half, but I mean, there were also just some really questionable throws, missing some wide open guys. Again, guys, he's like Colin Hill 2.0. It just, there's nothing dynamic about him. He's not going to go win you a football game necessarily. He has obvious limitations, guys. Like I said, I like the guy, but there's a reason he was a GA. There's a reason he hung the cleats up. It's not because he was an All-American or he has aspirations of the NFL. It's a nice story. It's been great. Appreciate you getting us to 2-0. Now, hand the keys back over to the guy who actually owns the freaking car. That's what I say. Let's see. Layout Masters is low-key. Parker is a GOAT. Put Zeb back on the staff, and Juju and Fan just lit it up. Jay Painter 71, what happened to we're going to throw to the tight end? Well, they tried to throw to the tight end. It was an interception. Jaheim Bell wasn't looking. So, but yeah, I was surprised to not see the tight end used, or at least more involved on Saturday. I really was. Josh Kirby, where was Birch? I mean, I think he was out there. Just, other guys made plays. Brennan Smith, 47. Josh Van's the best wide receiver on this team, and it's not even close. Yeah, right now, you can't argue that. I agree with you 100%. Let's see. Capped Way says, hand me a Xanax. Reps on payroll. Harris, Lloyd, Parker effing White. O-line, pick 6. Juju. I hear you, Capped Way. Last one, Bates _02. What's up with Doty? Is he not fully healthy, or is Beamer just running with Zeb from now on out? Just wasn't healthy. Just wasn't healthy enough to play, guys. That's the bottom line. That's it. I think that's what it comes down to. It's simple as that. Yeah, so it's just as simple as that. He just wasn't ready to go. So it looks like, by the way, guys, live update. Shane Beamer said on his coach's show, Luke Doty could have played against East Carolina if they needed him to. Quote, he's still sore. We fully expect him to be 100% next week, though. So, again, I guess what that tells you is he could have gone, but this coaching staff felt like, hey, we can beat East Carolina with Zeb Noland. And thankfully, they were correct. They were correct. So I would imagine, guys, Luke Doty is back 110% and is starting the game in Athens against Georgia. Just my take, just my pick. But, hey, who knows? I said that last week as well. All right, cool, guys. Appreciate the voicemails. Appreciate the questions. We've got a fantastic conversation, guys. A good buddy of mine and friend of the show, Brad Crawford of 247 Sports, joins me. He was actually in the stadium on Saturday watching the Gamecocks take on ECU and get that big win. Again, guys, we talked about that. We talked about Shane Beamer as a whole, changing the culture, the outlook of the rest of the 2021 football season. We even talk a little bit of SEC and national landscape. Really, really good stuff. So, again, guys, thank you so much for your continuous love and support, man. We continue to, accomplish milestones and hit new achievements and have successes, and it's all because of you all. So, again, thank you all so much, guys. I truly do appreciate it. Much love from yours truly. I mean that every sense of the word. There's a reason I believe in gratitude. I believe in leading with love, as Shane Beamer says, but leading with gratitude. I cannot say thank you enough to you guys, man. It means the absolute world, and I get to wake up and chase my dreams and pursue my passions because of you all, single-handedly. The Spurs Up Show is nothing without you guys. So, again, thank you so much, guys, for the continued love and support. On that note, have a great rest of your Monday. We're live all week with the podcast. The Daily Crow live all week. Going to be a damn fun week. To hell with Georgia. Now enjoy this conversation with Brad Crawford of 247 Sports. All right, joining us today on the Spurs Up Show, guys. Very excited. A friend of mine and a friend of the show for the first time in 2 years. 2 years too long. He graces the airwaves yet again to talk about South Carolina's victory over East Carolina on Saturday. Also, of course, we'll touch on SEC, national, all that good stuff. But I figured, guys, on this Monday show, who better than to talk to someone who was actually in the building over the weekend and watch Parker White's kick sail to the uprights to give Shane Beamer his second win as Gamecocks head coach, get the Gamecocks to 2-0, and more importantly, keep their bowl hopes alive for the 2021 football season. But again, guys, he's a national college football writer for 247 Sports. Very excited to chat with him. Brad Crawford, again, friend of mine, friend of the show. Brad, I appreciate you taking the time. And I also forgot to mention Brad Crawford, the second greatest beard in the world, only second to me. So anyways, Brad, no, your beard's looking great these days. What's going on, man? I appreciate you taking the time.
Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate you having me again. It's been too long, man. Saturday was my first live game outside of a press box since I think 2017 Kentucky, where Will Muschamp laid an egg that night at Williams-Brice. We know that game far too well. But, man, Saturday afternoon, the Gamecocks, they could have folded after that first play of the game. Had I been playing a live line, I'd have probably taken ECU because that's the only time the crowd got loud at Dowdy-Ficklin, that 75-yard touchdown pass. And after that, man, ECU ran 59 more plays, and I think the Gamecocks pretty much gave up 180 total yards after that. So, a very, very good defensive performance. That first quarter was just a comedy of errors. Mistake after mistake, and some questionable calls too from the officials. But for South Carolina to be able to rebound out of a 14-0 hole, got that big pick before half, says a lot about this team's makeup and sort of where Shane Beamer already is in year one.
Yeah, you speak on Shane Beamer, Brad, and again, before we talk about Saturday, I just want to ask you again from your national perspective. Of course, when he was hired, there were a lot of names floating out there, the Hugh Freezes, the Billy Napiers, the Jamie Chadwells, and South Carolina, of course, lands on Shane Beamer. We go throughout the preseason, of course, the honeymoon phase, and now obviously toe has met leather, and we're going to see how Shane Beamer fares in his first season. But overall, I know from the national side of things, I think this hire was looked at in a couple of different scopes, and I think most people thought it was a good hire and a good fit for South Carolina. But again, after you saw what Shane did in the preseason, 12 commitments in the month of June, and Brad, what was most impressive to me was the way that, because when he got to South Carolina, it was complete turmoil. The dumpster fire that Will Muschamp had left the program as, just completely leaving it in ruins, basically. Players going at coaches, going at fans, going at players. We saw the transfer portal. We saw opt-outs. Everything. The job Shane Beamer was able to do in the preseason. What do you make of that? Again, I know it's the honeymoon phase necessarily, but I feel like if you're a Gamecock fan, when you were envisioning Shane Beamer's first preseason in Columbia, you simply couldn't have drawn it up better than the way it went.
No, I think you're exactly right. I mean, how do you sell a college football program in the SEC coming off a 2-win season as not only a first-year head coach, a first-time head coach? I mean, you got to give Shane credit. He didn't have a staff from Oklahoma that he brought over. Most first-year coaches, have an entire staff they bring over from another program. Shane didn't have that luxury. Kind of picked and prodded around the college football landscape and kind of got guys he wanted. But, yeah, I mean, having those many verbal commits in June certainly tripled the number a lot of us national analysts expected. And, going back to your first question, I think a lot of national analysts, Chris, thought it was sort of a head-scratching hire. But, people like you and I close to the program who have seen this program the last couple of decades, know that it takes a special kind of person to lead South Carolina football. Obviously, I think Shane Beamer is that guy. I sort of said when he was hired that the Gamecocks landed a super fan. I mean, he knows he's been around for the Gamecock wonder years, so to speak. Those multiple 11-win seasons, top 10 finishes. So Shane talked about in Hoover, Alabama this summer that, he's looking forward to getting back there because the Gamecocks have proved they can get to that level. So I think it was not South Carolina's first choice maybe, but the Gamecocks, could have done a lot worse than hire Shane Beamer.
And, of course, on the field, Brad, the Shane Beamer era has gotten off to a fantastic start. Again, we sit here on Monday. Gamecocks are 2-0 and coming off of this weekend in a game you absolutely had to have. I joked with you off air, Brad, obviously, that, I kind of caught it from the Carolina fan base a little bit when I kept saying this is a tough game. I called it the most important game of Shane Beamer's first season. A lot of people, scoffed at that, just couldn't believe, oh, my God, East Carolina, they're not even the Power Five. How could that be the most important? But my reasoning was this, Brad. You look at the swing games on this 2021 schedule. We look at the Kentuckys, the Missouris, the Tennessees, the Auburns. We understand the importance of those, but you can lose any of those games and get to a bowl game. A loss on Saturday, and you hate to put this much on a week 2 game, but I really feel like, Brad, that if you would have lost that game on Saturday, it basically would have derailed any hopes you had at a 6-win season. And I think more importantly, too, it would have taken away some of the, like I mentioned, the warm and fuzzy feelings that you got from the preseason, the start of the Shane Beamer era. All of a sudden, you lose to ECU. All of that is gone. You and I both know, Brad, college football is very week to week. You can be on cloud 9-1, and the next week, hey, just ask Florida State fans how that's going.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's a whole other show right there.
That's
man.
a whole
other show.
Yeah. At least we're not FSU fans for sure. But that game overall, am I crazy for having put that much emphasis on that football game? And just talk about, do you feel like now that you find a way to win it, whether it's ugly, embarrassing, impressive, whatever you want to call it, I feel like it now opens the door up to a whole new realm of possibilities that maybe even national analysts did not think was possible. You think the Vegas over-under was 3.5. So I think certainly South Carolina, you're already halfway there to hitting that over win total.
Yeah, you got to feel pretty good about hitting that over win total now. And, now you're talking about let's go ahead and project a loss, on Saturday to Georgia. But that's 2-1, probably best case scenario for Shane after 3 weeks of the season. And that ECU game, those who follow this program, Chris, closely enough knew that was not going to be a waltz over. Gamecocks have a better roster, obviously a top 25 roster nationally in terms of talent. But this ECU program, despite not having a winning season since I think it's 2015, this is year 3 under Mike Houston. They've got a veteran 3-year starter at quarterback in Holton Ahlers, who, the Gamecocks did a fantastic job defensively against him. Not only did they take away the underneath stuff, but ECU didn't even try the deep ball because the Gamecocks played those 2 safeties back pretty much all game and only were able to, rush 4 and blitz every now and then. But, it was a game, I think, where South Carolina sort of needed somebody to step up. And in recent years, they really haven't had that guy that maybe takes over a game. But, you saw the pick 6 late in the second quarter, and that really sucked the energy out of Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium. That's almost a 14-point swing because, you look at it, ECU could have gone into halftime up 17-0, up 21-0. Then you're thinking about sort of a passing game, strapped offense for South Carolina would have been tough, but, got the pick six. And then Juju McDowell, 100 all-purpose yards fourth quarter. Pretty much a relative unknown, coming into this season. So for him to have that 65-yard kickoff return, then 45 yards rushing that last drive, Parker White connects on 2 clutch field goals. I think it's a very good win, man, and a win that, talking about the last 2 or 3 seasons, stands up there with some of the better ones, despite how ugly it was.
Starting with the defense, Brad, because you mentioned them, and that was something I talked about a lot in the preseason in regards to, I thought South Carolina was going to have to win games with their offense, and they still might have to, once you get Luke Doty back in and we see the best version of that unit, at least I believe, with Luke Doty under center, what he brings, that dynamic ability, his athleticism, all that good stuff. But hats off to Clayton White's unit. They surpassed all of my expectations on Saturday. We knew the defensive front was good, but major holes in the secondary. And there's no question, Brad, you look back at last year, that defense was worlds more talented, at least
Sure.
in the back seven than this one is. However, I feel like, and again, I know it's only 2 games. I don't want to overreact. You get into the SEC grind now and really find out how good this defense is. But
stuff could change quickly, correct?
Yeah, for sure. But if nothing else, I feel like fans, at least they look at that game on Saturday and say, it just looks different. And I would say the same thing in regards to fundamentally, it feels a lot better. I feel like Gamecocks have a bunch of guys just flying around, flying to the football. We saw some boneheaded mistakes and guys, it looked like they were just thinking too much. And I know that was something we talked about with the 4-2-5 and simplifying and just letting your athletes be athletes and letting them fly to the football. I've been very impressed with the first 2 weeks. Gamecocks have only allowed 2 third-down conversions in the first 2 games combined, which leads the country. But overall, just how impressed are you thus far with the defense? Again, is it going to be, one of the top half in the league defenses? Probably not. But so far, so good for Clayton White's unit.
Yeah, it's been opportunistic as well. Talking about 2 pick sixes, and that one Saturday really swung the game, as I mentioned. I think the strength of this defense so far, Chris, not only the pass rush against ECU, I think it was 5 sacks, but the tackling on the edges from safeties and corners has been just elite the first 2 weeks. There were several 3rd and 5s ECU had in that game where Holton Ahlers, tossed the ball out to the flats. And from my vantage point, it appeared ECU guy had the angle to get a first down. And whether it was Cam Smith or somebody else, they made a big stop short of the sticks and were able to force a punt. There was a 3rd and 5 late in that game for ECU with about 5.5 minutes left. I was kind of thinking, if South Carolina gets off the field here, here's the opportunity to go win this game. And in the past, maybe the past couple of years, the 2-8, losing season before that, maybe the Gamecocks would have given up a big conversion and not gotten off the field. But hats off to the secondary, has played really well these last 2 weeks. And not only are they hitting hard, but they're wrapping up, not having big whiffs that we've kind of seen from safety play in recent years. But Cam Smith, a very good game Saturday. Did have, I think, a personal foul for kind of standing over somebody, which is a typical Gamecock play. But, if Shane Beamer, Clayton White can kind of get those plays out of those guys' heads and just, make the routine play and move on to the next down, this defense has a shot to be at least mid-level this season.
Now, offensively, Brad, the Zeb Nolan story. Have you ever heard of anything so wacky where a GA? Because I know nationally the Gamecocks got.
Look, man, I almost didn't believe. Look, when when Shane Beamer said a few weeks ago that he was there the first fall camp practice warming up our receivers, and I kind of liked how he threw the ball. That's what Shane said pretty much. And next thing I know, he's on the depth chart for quarterback. So I think it's more of an indictment of what's behind Luke Doty and Zeb Nolan, right? The other guys in the room obviously just aren't good enough to, have to have a GA in there. But as bad as Zeb Nolan played at times Saturday, he made 3 or 4 clutch throws. I thought the best throw he made all afternoon was after he threw that touchdown pass in the corner to Josh Vann that got reviewed, overturned. He made that throw over the top of a linebacker to the carry-on Joyner, and we saw a Gamecock receiver actually make an athletic play. At some point, that receiver group has to step up and start helping his quarterbacks out. So, very good play from Joyner there. Zeb had several other throws down the sideline that were completed, but the biggest issue I see with Nolan, man, the first 2 games is he's a one-read quarterback, it looks like. And when you start playing these speedy SEC defenses that take chances like Georgia and Kentucky's corners do, that's going to result in some giveaways. So I think obviously Shane knows that if Luke Doty is 100% healthy, he's ready to go. He's the Gamecocks' best option. But, I mean, you know, he threw a GA out there the first 2 weeks, and the Gamecocks are 2-0. So who am I to question quarterback play, right?
Yeah, whatever works. I think you and I both agree, though, that the best version of this offense is with Luke Doty under center, no question, especially when you have the lack of options on the outside. And, again, you're going to need that athleticism, but especially, Brad, too, who are the imposters that are playing offensive line right now for South Carolina? Because, I mean, I thought that was a strength coming in. 4 of 5 returners, over 80 career starts.
Yeah.
I gave you a pass for week 1 because it's week 1, knocking the rust off. But I'm starting to get a little concerned. I mean, it's running the football looks very difficult right now for a unit that I don't feel with the group of backs you have. It should be fairly easy to run the football. Only 2.8 yards per carry on Saturday.
Yeah. The guard play so far has really disappointed me. Gamecocks are not running well between the tackles. But if you notice the second half of that game, they were starting to get, you know, a 3 or 4 chunk plays when they went off tackle, sort of outside, getting the ball off to the edges. Maybe that's the Gamecocks' best recipe for success this season. But to see Kevin Harris pretty much relegated to, I mean, RB3 carries, you know, late in the third quarter of that game, Kevin Harris had about 3 touches. And this is a guy who had 1,200 yards rushing last season in the SEC against a 10-game SEC schedule. So, obviously the Gamecocks' most talented position group is the running back position. Marshawn Lloyd, I thought, had a decent game Saturday, almost had a game-deciding fumble there late. Gamecocks fell on it. But, yeah, Judy McDowell, I mean, he's a guy I didn't, you know, see getting a ton of playing time coming into this season, and then has the biggest game for all RBs in week 2. So, Gamecocks have some depth there. But like you mentioned, man, this O-line, despite, you know, having some veteran leadership, it hasn't pushed two inferior teams off the ball yet. And now here comes the test against arguably the nation's best defensive line in Georgia. So if they don't come to play with their hard hats in Athens, it'll definitely be a long night.
Yeah, I was going to say that's you can't hide from that Georgia defensive line. Right. That is for sure. That is one of the elite units, if not the best unit in all of college ball. We can't talk about Saturday's game, Brad, without talking special teams. I mean, Beamer ball.
Wow.
You know, Kai Kroger with an incredible hold on the first field goal that Parker White nailed. Of course, Parker White, the veteran kicker who, man, what a career he's had, just up and down. I think he started his career missing the first 3 or 4 kicks, and his first ever made
6 game winners.
Yeah, 6 game. I mean, that's insane when you think about it. His first ever make at Carolina was against Louisiana Tech in a game winner.
A similar game to Saturday.
Very similar, but no, Parker White nails that game winner again. I think you and I would both agree special teams has been a plus, and it's been a plus so far. And again, just 2 games, but it's been a plus for a program that I don't feel like special teams has ever really been our forte. Would you agree?
I mean, I kept waiting for the muff punt. You know, I mean, watch enough Gamecocks, and you got to give Josh Van credit. You know, I think he called 8 or 9 punts. You know, fair catches. I saw a tweet the other day, Chris, that said maybe McDowell should be our punt returner. Josh Van's a good punt returner, but when the coverage team, you know, when Shane Beamer's calling the block, I mean, it's going to be a fair catch when the ball comes down to him. So, special teams play so far, man, has been superb. And normally a first-year coach, you know, you can't really say that. That's not something that coaches work on as much as, you know, offense and defense during practice. But man, so far that one Saturday game against ECU, that late kick return down to ECU's 30 set up Parker White's first kick on that great hold, and then, you know, he split the uprights for the 35-yarder to end it. But I told a buddy of mine, he's an ECU fan, sitting beside me in the final seconds. I said, you know what, I'm not going to watch this final kick because I've seen this story too many times. He goes, man, you guys are going to hit. You guys are going to hit it. And, I mean, give Parker White credit, man. He split it, and the rest is history.
You've seen that movie before, and the ship still sinks, but thankfully she's still floating right now as Carolina sits 2-0. And, you know, Brad, before we get off of that game, though, and again, I know I'm harping on it over and over again, but my biggest takeaway from Saturday, because this is a football team that has issues, has deficiencies, has holes, and at some point, right, whether it be this Saturday or next Saturday, at some point that'll hurt the Gamecocks. They're going to lose a football game, no doubt. But my biggest takeaway, again, a football program that over the last just year, we'll say, and over the last couple of years with the previous regime has gone through so much, so many shortcomings, so much turmoil, so much adversity. And for South Carolina to fight through that and just on a day where it did not play its best football, I mean, that's a guarantee. South Carolina had every reason to lose that football game, from the officiating to the on-field play to everything. And the home cooking Saturday was outrageous. Had every reason to lose, though, but found a way to win. And I think the biggest takeaway is this, in the scope of the 2021 season, yes, that's a huge game for obviously getting to a bowl game, getting to 6 wins, which would be a massive success for Beamer. But I feel like, Brad, that's one of those wins that, he's trying to change the culture right now. And I think people need to understand, like, it's going to be a slow process, slower than some would maybe like. But that's a game that you win, and it sort of reaffirms everything that you are instilling and everything you're building and everything these guys are telling their football team. It's like, look, we're telling you this for a reason. It's kind of one of those building blocks in building Shane Beamer's program and rebuilding this South Carolina football program. Am I putting too much stock in a week 2 win over East Carolina, or do you feel the same sentiment that I'm expressing to you?
No, I mean, South Carolina's players, Chris, could have easily been dejected, hung their heads. I mean, very rarely do you win a road game in college football as a small favorite when you give up a 75-yard touchdown the first play from scrimmage. You fumble at your going in for a touchdown to tie the game at the 1-yard line, touch back the other way, have a bad snap on a key third down. I mean, very rarely can you overcome those mistakes, lose the turnover battle, still win the football game. It's just very impressive, ECU, I think, largely in that first half outplayed South Carolina. And despite that, locker room halftime score was 14-7, and it felt like the Gamecocks had all the momentum. So that's a testament to Shane Beamer, sort of getting those guys motivated to, look, guys, 2-score game on the road, we're not down yet. And Chris, we've seen bad Gamecock teams in the past go down big. They wouldn't have had that pick six. It would have been 21-0. First drive of the third quarter would have been a 3-and-out, and then the snowball continues. So you saw how happy Shane Beamer was after that game-winning kick. I mean, it felt like a Super Bowl type win to him. And I think all Gamecock fans watching that game, knowing how poorly South Carolina played at times, to start the season 2-0 going to Georgia, thus far it's a job well done for Shane Beamer.
Now, Brad, you speak on that Georgia game. Let's just touch on that really, really quickly.
Sure.
And I want to dive into SEC with you because, again, we're talking here late Sunday, this airing on Monday. And one of my favorite things about Sundays, Brad, is when the Vegas lines drop. And I know some people couldn't give a darn about Vegas lines, but I think it's a really good indicator of what people think nationally. And again, Brad, like you said, like we saw over the weekend, those guys, they don't have biases. They're not a Gamecock fan. They're not a Georgia fan. They're not an ECU fan. They're a fan of making money. They don't miss very often. Gamecocks from -2 opened up as they won by 3. Those guys know what they're doing. Gamecocks opened up as a 32-point underdog. I'll just ask you this. I'll ask you this. What should South Carolina's goal be? I don't want to make it sound like, let's just wave the white flag before we even get there. But realistically,
I think the answer is simple, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty simple. You can't allow explosive plays to Georgia. We saw UAB give up several 35-yard plus plays.
What was Stetson Bennett, like 5 for 5 for 250 yards or something like that?
And that's the key as well. I mean, JT Daniels is not healthy. He got hurt in the Clemson game, and Kirby kind of dumbed down the offense a bit. And then he had QB2 in there Saturday night, and they still score 56 points. I mean, the recipe for South Carolina in this game to keep it respectable is, make Georgia drive the field, 10, 12 play, 6-minute drives. Then the final score is 35-10. You get out of there relatively healthy. You move to the next week. I don't think it's a throwaway game for South Carolina. I think it's a game that, they're going to have to obviously play well at the line of scrimmage, and they haven't done that thus far on the offensive side of the football. But Georgia's an explosive team, man. They still don't have a full loaded roster yet, have some receivers out, but we know how hard it is to go into Athens and win. A couple years ago, a bad Gamecock team somehow went in there and beat an 11-win Georgia team. So I think a lot of Gamecock fans see that crooked 32 number, Chris, and think, well, man, I'm just going to pound the cover. But if Zeb Nolan plays and there's a lot of, 3-and-outs early, Gamecock defense has to come to play because it can get ugly fast.
For sure. And again, you mentioned the Georgia Bulldogs. Let's just talk SEC landscape. Is it as simple as Georgia, Alabama this year in the SEC championship, or is there anybody else that can push those two teams?
So I told you back in July that I thought Kentucky could win 9 games. And a lot of that hinged on Will Levis, the Penn State transfer at quarterback, and whether or not Chris Rodriguez, a guy who I feel is a great running back, right up there with Kevin Harris as far as tops in the SEC. And then Wan'Dale Robinson, a Nebraska transfer who's already got 3-4 touchdowns in 2 games. I think UK is probably going to be Georgia's toughest game this season, believe it or not, now that they've beaten Clemson and kind of have that game behind them. Florida's a team that a lot of folks right now thinks, overrated. I think Dan Mullen has a backup quarterback who should be starting right now. And a lot of Gator fans, at least on Twitter and social media, feel the same way. So the SEC East is a 3-team race. I think, like you mentioned in the opening, Chris, there's going to be 50-50 games for the Gamecocks where if Shane Beamer wants to get to a bowl game in his first season, and if he does that with this roster, I mean, it's like near SEC Coach of the Year type status. But Missouri's going to be a toss-up game. Tennessee is a winnable/losable game, another toss-up. And then on the other side, there's major questions for the teams that are trying to topple Bama. LSU's 0-1. Had that bad loss at UCLA, really got dominated up front. Texas A&M starting quarterback is out. Haynes King might be out for the foreseeable future. Very good defense there, but, I mean, you can't score 10 points on Colorado and expect to beat Bama 2 weeks later. So I do think it's a 2-team race in the SEC. I think both Georgia and Bama have a good shot at being 12-0 and meeting in Atlanta. So the SEC has 5 or 6 good teams in it, but really 2 elite teams.
And Brad, I think we talked over the summer, though. I mean, I'm picking Georgia to go all the way. I've actually got them winning the SEC championship and winning the national title. Too aggressive for the Dogs. Is this going to be the year, the first time since 1980?
I've got to see elite quarterback play, man. JT, I mean, so the first game against Clemson, don't get me wrong, Georgia played outstanding. Best defensive performance I've seen in probably 2 years in one of those top 10 type games. But I mean, they were handcuffed offensively at times. Clemson played just as well up front defensively, and JT Daniels didn't go downfield once. And he's a guy, Chris, that I had as the SEC's top-ranked quarterback coming into the season. So I want to see more from JT Daniels. Obviously, he's got it in him to be a All-American type quarterback. But, I mean, Kirby knows, look, no former assistant has beaten Nick Saban yet. That's the elephant in the room that is not so quiet. And in order to get to the Final Four and win it all, he may have to beat Bama twice. So it's a lot to ask.
Now, speaking of the Clemson Tigers, Brad, and of course, Gamecock fans have been having fun at their expense because I don't know the last time that South Carolina at this point, even this point in the season, had a better record than Clemson.
I couldn't tell you.
Really, it's been quite a while. But I wanted to get your take on them. Again, a low-scoring slugfest type of game, 7-3. They lose to Georgia week 1. A little bit of sloppiness week 2 against South Carolina State, couple interceptions. And of course, I mean, we all want to see, or at least Gamecock fans I speak for, want to see the demise of that program in the upstate. I don't know that it's going to happen in a conference. I mean, the ACC is historically bad thus far this year. I mean, they're terrible. And I'm not normally a guy that pounds the drum when they play nobody. It's like, hey, you kind of just play who you have to play. But the ACC is terrible so far this year. But do you look at Clemson? I mean, I don't feel like they're quite that dominant force they've been the last couple of seasons. Again, is it way too early to tell, or is there actually something there, you think, in regards to maybe this is Clemson starting to fall off just a little bit?
In terms of wide receiver play, I've been surprised at how downright bad they've looked at times. I mean, Georgia's top secondary player was out in that season opener, West Virginia transfer Tyke Smith, and Clemson couldn't complete a ball downfield. Justin Ross, Dabo kind of slammed him in the post game, saying that DJ Uyungale's pick 6 was all on Justin Ross. I mean, DJ's the guy that threw it, Justin Ross kind of cut the route short and didn't hop in there. But and then you look at Saturday game against South Carolina State. There was a second quarter interception from Uyunglele, and Dabo is just barking at him on the sideline in the middle of the huddle. So there's some frustrations right now in Death Valley, I think. And you kind of saw that Georgia loss, I think, linger a bit in that game Saturday night. But obviously, weak opponent. Clemson was going to, show up and roll. But Dabo kind of has his work cut out for him as far as keeping this team motivated. I mean, not only, Chris, are they going to have to finish the regular season unbeaten the rest of the way, but they're going to have to look good doing it because, as you mentioned, the ACC is not a world beater anymore. There's hardly any ranked teams in it. Talking about Virginia Tech, like 18 right now. So the road game against NC State is probably the Tigers' toughest game left, and they just lost to Mississippi State, man, one of the bottom dwellers in this SEC. So I'm not sure Clemson is playoff caliber yet. Certainly could be 2 months from now, but Uiagalelei right now has not played like the Heisman front runner that I had him has in July, and I think everybody at Tiger Net knows that.
And that's all it's going to take. One miss at quarterback, and hey, we've seen it firsthand at South Carolina how that can change the scope of things. Back to the Gamecock side of things, Brad. Before I get you out of here, I want to talk just conference realignment. We saw Texas get their first taste of the SEC on Saturday, and I don't know, they might be reconsidering that move, but what it means for South Carolina and Shane Beamer for, again, it's just a lot of madness right now with conference realignment. But what we do know is Texas and Oklahoma are headed to the SEC. Not exactly sure when they're going to begin on-field competition because I know what was it, 2025, but I'm sure they're trying to get that expedited.
Yeah, the rumor is 2 years from now.
Right. So they're trying to get it done much quicker. How does that change things, if change things at all, for Shane Beamer and the Gamecocks? That's the question I get. I think the answer is simply you've just got to stick to the game plan and do your best in recruiting and development and just go win. But how does that change the overall landscape for what Shane Beamer and company are building in Columbia?
Yeah, I mean, Shane would be the first to tell the Gamecock fan base, look, I can't concern myself with two, powerhouses joining the SEC. Gamecocks already face 5 or 6 powerhouses annually. What's 2 more on the schedule, right? So you just have to kind of recruit players who you think best fit your program. You can't worry about who else is offering, who else is maybe coming into your backyard for guys. We've seen Clemson do that in recent years, Georgia always. Atlanta's been a recruiting hotbed for South Carolina, Charlotte as well. And those are 2 areas now that Texas and Oklahoma might sort of ponder at. So, as a SEC fan, Chris, all my life, I don't think it's the SEC anymore, man. It's just weird seeing Sooners, Longhorns coming in, and now maybe 10 years from now, we're talking about maybe a 24-team super conference and kind of where does South Carolina fit in that? For a program that's never won a national title and is still in search of that first SEC championship, it makes it tougher. It certainly does. And I think fans maybe should temper expectations a bit. Me and you have kind of said off the record, man, as friends, that championship window from 2011 to 13 with the best quarterback in program history, several first round picks on both sides of the ball. That may have been the window, but Shane will be the first to say the Gamecocks can get back to that point as long as they recruit elite level guys who are smart players on the field, and they can beat the Georgias and Floridas consistently. So Shane has one of the toughest jobs in college football. He's going to always have a fan base that's behind him, win or lose. So I don't know, man. It's a tough mountain to climb for South Carolina, especially with 2 top 15 teams joining.
College football playoff expansion, Brad, that's a hot topic. Of course, anytime you bring that up, and the debate certainly rages on when you're talking about the number of teams that should be included in the playoff. And I've had the privilege to talk to guys, one of your colleagues, Josh Pate. I was able to talk to Tim Brando a couple of weeks ago. And again, it's interesting to hear these different college football talking heads on their opinion on what college football should do. What's your take? How many teams is the right number of teams? Because the problem, you and I both know, the problem is Bama Clemson fatigue. But is expanding the playoff really going to fix the problem?
No, because we're going to still have the same 5 or 6 programs every year who win the quarterfinal game, win the semifinal game, and then we're back to Alabama, Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, Alabama, Oklahoma. It does help the group of 5 teams, feel like they're getting a piece of the pie. But we just saw, 4 top flight G5 programs are joining the Big 10. So Big 12. So now UCF's Power 5, they would have had a shot to make it as a Big 12 champion down the road anyway. So, I'm all for more college football games, man. I'm a huge, watcher of the game at heart, and I like seeing elite teams play. But to answer your question, I don't think it's going to create any more parity. You know, there's a big lack of parity right now in college football. Everybody knows that. You can look at the preseason AP poll, man, every August and know, you know, the 5 or 6 programs who are going to be in the thick of that title race at the end. So, but it does broaden the scope a little bit, and it gives the committee, you know, 5 or 6 other teams to look at going down the stretch every year. And for a team like South Carolina playing in the nation's most competitive conference, you know, maybe a 9-3 Gamecock team down the road that loses, you know, 3 top 5 games, maybe they're number 12 or 11 in the playoffs. So I think it certainly helps.
For sure. Brad Crawford of 247 Sports. Always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for taking the time. Hey, last thing before I let you go. What's Brad Crawford's latest venture right now? I know you're obviously about the cards, the sneakers. Like what are you into these days? What's the hot card on the market right now?
Man, I'm a full-time dad right now with 2 little girls to take care of. Football season, man, it's hard for me to have hobbies as far as sneaker collecting and buying and flipping trading cards. But look, I'm already counting down to the end of the season. If CBS and 247 see this, so be it. But you know, every Saturday, Sunday, you know, from September 1 to mid-December, I don't get any sleep, man. As you can see. So, college football season is here, and once that's over with around Christmas time, man, I'll be back to hobby Brad.
For sure. We love it. We love it. Brad's a grinder, just like yours truly, and it is a grind indeed, but one we sure do love and enjoy. Brad Crawford.
Good to see you, bro. Yeah.
Great to see you as well. Brad, 247 Sports. Seriously, check out his work on social media. You guys know the drill. You know where to find him. Again, Brad, thank you so much for taking the time. Let's definitely do it again soon for sure.
Sounds good, buddy.
Awesome. He's Brad Crawford. I'm Chris Phillips. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on another episode of the Spurs Up Show.